A listomania, think less but see it grow.
Hello everybody and welcome to your June 2018 episode of 10 for 12. There will be a list at the end of this video if you want to take a look at what 10 for 12 is all about. So if you're new to my channel, welcome, it's a pleasure to have you, and I'm looking forward to this very interesting top 10 list because if there's one thing that I have been saying for a while that's been lacking on my channel this year is music outside of the Friday 5. There really hasn't been that much that I've really been interested in, but it looks like things are starting to pick up because I've got some music reviews in the works, especially because of some new albums from artists that I absolutely love. So the theme for this month's 10 for 12 is your 10 favorite albums that you want everybody to hear because they're just so awesome. And I've got two fellow Friday Fivers joining me for this one, EmmaRose and As Read by Brooke. They are two fantastic, diverse music fans. They have opened my eyes to some amazing music that I never heard of before, and even some favorites from some bands that I didn't even know existed. So I'm really excited to seeing what their lists are all about because I definitely got some very interesting albums to discuss with you guys, and there's no time like the present to begin. So let's talk about those 10 great albums that everybody should listen to. Number 10 on my list is from one of the newer bands that I have fallen in love with in music, and that of course is the 1975, and their sophomore album, I Like It When You Sleep, ... as I like to call it because it's just a massive title, is definitely one of the best albums that has come out in recent years. It's a fantastic neo-new wave sound with so many great songs on it, like She's American, which happens to be my favorite, and everybody loves the sound. It's just one of the best albums that I have heard in such a long time, and it's part of my collection, and it's also great to actually uncover that there are so many bands that sound like this right now, because I love that sound of synthesizer and that new wave 80s beat. It's just fantastic, and I'm glad to see that there are so many artists now that are trying to take that sound and bring it to a whole new generation of music listeners. Number 9 is definitely an album that I'm sure that Brooke is going to approve of, and it is the sophomore release of the Foo Fighters from 1997, which is Color and Shape. The Foo Fighters are definitely one of the most talented bands in all of rock and roll, and Dave Grohl is without a doubt the hardest working man in music right now. Color and Shape was definitely their best record, even though I believe that there were some that came pretty damn close. For me, particularly Sonic Highways, it is going to be so hard for one of their albums to reach those levels like Color and Shape. Songs like Monkey Wrench, My Hero, Hey Johnny Park, so many amazing songs on this album. And if you have not heard of this album by the Foo Fighters, especially if you know the Foo Fighters, this is definitely one that you have to listen to right away. Number 8 is from one of my all-time favorite bands, probably the band that launched me into truly loving all kinds of music rather than just listening to the oldies on my mother's radio. And that, of course, is Insomniac by Green Day. Not Dookie. Dookie is definitely one of their greatest albums, possibly their greatest, but Insomniac was sort of an unofficial sequel to Dookie. It was harder, it was darker, it was definitely a lot more of a powerful listen, and I just adore that album. Songs like Brain Stew, Brat, my personal favorite, Stewart and the Avenue. This is definitely one of the most unappreciated and underrated Green Day albums. If you have not heard Insomniac, and especially if you are a Green Day fan, they definitely started doing something great with Dookie, and now they are Rock and Roll Hall of Famers. Who could say no to a band like Green Day? Number 7, we're going to take a trip back in time, and we're going to talk about one of the godfathers of rock music, and that, of course, is Led Zeppelin. And Led Zeppelin 2 is, without a doubt, possibly, debatably, their best album. I mean, I am partial to Led Zeppelin 3 because there are some wonderful songs on there, including my favorite, which is Tangerine, but you cannot compare that to songs like Heartbreaker, the Lemon Song, Whole Lotta Love. I mean, these are just powerful songs on this album, and this is without a doubt, if you want to get the let out, that is the album that you put on when it comes to Led Zeppelin. Number 6 is from a band from my preteens when I was also starting to appreciate rock music alongside Green Day, and that, of course, is Live. And we're going to go with another sophomore album, which is Throwing Copper. That is without a doubt one of the most deeper, more thought-provoking, most powerful albums in all of alternative and grunge in the 1990s. So many incredible songs on this album, including songs like Top and Shittown, of course their big single Lightning Crashes, I Alone. I mean, I can go on. Practically their entire album hit the radio, and it is such an amazing one. There's slow songs, there's fast songs, there's amazing songs in between, but they are definitely one of the more impactful and influential bands of the 1990s, and Throwing Copper is definitely one of the greatest albums, period, in all of rock music. Number 5 is from one of my more recent favorite bands, especially going into the 2010s, and that, of course, is Adam Young's Owl City. I love this guy, and especially his album Ocean Eyes, which I thought was the best album from 2009. It is such a whimsical journey. The lyrics are beautiful, the sounds are intoxicating, his rhyming is unprecedented when it comes to his lyrics, and songs like Cave In, Fireflies, Hello Seattle, there is just so much to appreciate in this album, and to this day, it is still his best. Even though his newest album, which just dropped, Cinematic, comes pretty close, I do think that Ocean Eyes is the best Owl City album ever, and I highly recommend you check out this one specific album and you will just fall in love with Owl City. Number 4 is from a band that you may not have heard of, and that, of course, is Dream Theater. Crazy because they've been around for 30 years. They're an amazing progressive rock band, and their sophomore album, of course, but I would sometimes say that people will call it their very first because it was the first album with their current lead singer, James Labrie, who was a former opera singer, and Images and Words from 1992 was his first album with this band, and this is such a powerful record. The sound, the spectacle, the lyrics, the voice range, everything is beautiful in this album. Songs like Take the Time, Pull Me Under, Metropolis Part 1, I mean, it is just a beautiful, beautiful masterpiece of a record. You have to hear this album, especially with one of my personal favorite songs on that album, probably my favorite Dream Theater song of all time, which is Surrounded. Images and Words is just incredible. Number 3 on my list is also from one of my favorite and more influential bands from my youth, and that is Third Eye Blind with another sophomore release. For some strange reason, I realized that if your sophomore release is successful, you're going to have a prominent, likable career in the Lawn Gnomes book, and their second album, Blue, is definitely one of the most beautiful composings that they have done. It is haunting, it is so soothing, it's got everything that you want from a great album. Songs like Anything, To Farther, Camouflage, 1,000 Julys, and of course one of their big singles, which was Never Let You Go, and of course one of my personal favorite songs of theirs, Deep Inside of You. This is without a doubt their best record. A lot of people like their self-titled and they say that that's their best one, their very first one, but I think that Blue is so much better. It is on a deeper level than any other records, but every single one of their albums is great, but I just think that Blue is the best. Number 2, we've got to go with a classic album that everybody who is a rock fan talks about, and that, of course, is Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. That is without a doubt one of the most beautiful albums ever made. Roger Waters gave us a true masterpiece in 1973, and young kids today even know that album just by looking at the prism. Such amazing songs. Money, Us and Them, Time, Brain Damage, so many amazing songs on Dark Side of the Moon, even though there's just a small amount. And yes, I have played that song while I watched The Wizard of Oz, and it does work. You have to play it numerous times for it to work, but you have got to check out Dark Side of the Moon if you haven't, and if you listen to this band, it will turn you on to a whole new world of music in terms of rock and roll, progressive rock, and concept albums. That's another thing that they gave a true birth to, the concept album. And that brings us to the number 1 album that I think you should be listening to, and that is from the Beatles, and it is Yellow Submarine. Yeah, you thought I was going to say Revolver, Abbey Road, A Hard Day's Night, or maybe even Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. No, you gotta listen to Yellow Submarine. It has some of the most unknown and most beautiful songs that the Beatles have made, like It's All Too Much, Only a Northern Song, and All Together Now, but it's the composing of the score that was featured in the 1969 film that was animated, of course, that makes this album extra special. Beautiful songs like The Sea of Monsters, The Sea of Time, Pepperland, so many amazing songs from the Beatles' music to classic composition is a beautiful and perfect blend, and that's why I think the Yellow Submarine is one of the most underappreciated Beatles albums. You should definitely check it out. And that's it, everybody. Thank you very much for watching my 10 for 12 of the 10 albums that you should listen to. I also want to thank Emma and Brooke for participating. I'm so excited to see your lists. Put your comments down in the box below and let's discuss some albums that you think that I should be listening to, because I'm always up to listening to some new and awesome music. So thank you very much for watching, as always, everybody, and I will see you in the next one. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.